Considering Disobedience as Beneficial by Declan Boyd. What's the problem? The problem is that obedience may not be the easiest and correct choice for some people. Following along with it exactly what a law says or what someone is telling you to do may not always be expected, but disobedience also isn't normally accepted. According to the Cambridge Dictionary, disobedience is defined as refusing to do what someone in authority tells you to do. Although disobedience may seem completely harmful and irresponsible, it may benefit us more than we think. To begin with, disobedience actually includes some moral value upon action. According to John Simmons, professor of philosophy at the University of Virginia, in this analysis, there is often talk of universal moral laws, which are higher or more binding than any laws of any particular state. If some state law should require me to disobey a moral law, I am completely justified in breaking that law of state. Moral laws can stand higher or become more important than an order of law of any particular state of untruthfulness towards a person. Beliefs in moral truths can come before the obedience of a law, and this is so important when just about anything seems unfair or unjust towards somebody. Additionally, Henry David Thoreau, an American naturalist from Harvard University, illustrates he performed civil disobedience in a democracy, arguing that sometimes the Constitution is not the solution, but the problem. Moreover, legal channels can take too long. He argued, he was born to live, not to lobby. His individualism gave him another answer. Individuals are sovereign, especially in a democracy, and the government gains its power by delegation through its free individuals. People are constantly being constrained by what the government is putting upon us, and many times what they ask of us can be unjust or unfair. Although most laws are fair and should be followed, there can be some times when it is more important to listen to what you think, even if it isn't being obedient. Furthermore, there are right and wrong times to be disobedient, and these situations have to be specific. There are obviously plenty of risks that come into play that could, if not, end up harming someone if they do not handle themselves correctly. According to the article Moral Courage and Intelligent Disobedience, a critical application of moral courage is knowing when and how to disobey, which can be defined as intelligent disobedience. This involves an ability to work within the system to maintain standards and uphold moral values. As stated, there are definitely times when it is smarter to stay in line and do what is expected and asked of you. That being said, once the time is right, intelligent disobedience can help take over in knowing if it is ethical or morally responsible to take action. There are lots of examples of times when disobedience has been a just option, like in the military. Soldiers make sure to take all factors of their situation into consideration. For example, Major Lung Shing Tai of the Singapore Army states, "Obedience is an important prerequisite for an effective military and the foundation on which its success is based upon. Commanders and soldiers in the lower rungs of the hierarchy military understand the larger intent behind an operation. Although it is ideal for every commander and soldier to understand the policies and rationale behind an order given, the time taken to provide a detailed explanation would degrade from the possible level of responsiveness in a combat environment and will probably lead to the subsequent failure of the entire operation. However, there is a concurrent obligation in the U.S. military to disobey orders if they are illegal. There are opportunities and times for these soldiers to disobey direct orders from high-ranking officers, and they know when they are obligated to, as they are constantly adapting to their surroundings and their environment. Just like these soldiers, humans can learn when to disobey and begin to feel some obligation based on illegal policies and rationale behind their actions. Finally, there can be more benefits of disobedience than harm. There can be so many negative impacts that will affect a person's life for being disobedient, like incarceration, but the benefits of success can far outweigh those consequences. For example, the article Eloise Cobell, A Small Measure of Justice, states, "Over the many years we knew each other, we would often talk about the lawsuit. Even in those times when victory seemed far away, she'd always say, 'I know I'm doing the right thing.' Then she'd say what I called the Eloise mantra, 'The stars are aligned, the stars are aligned,' then it came to pass." This is a great representation of the benefits of being disobedient because Cobell kept fighting for her people even though she was threatened with being arrested. In the end, her success was far greater than any consequences she could have faced. Equally important, Peter Suber, Philosophy of Law at Earlham College, adds, sometimes activists can point to the lawlessness of their opponents as the real concern. The only harmful consequences of civil disobedience were triggered by the government's reaction to it. In many cases, the government would be thought to give consequences to those who are being disobedient in general, but those consequences only came into play when they were noticed in the first place, also bringing in the fact that the situation is key. On the other hand, disobedience is dangerous, illegal, and goes against what is supposed to be allowed. The idea that disobedience even goes against the law just shows that it should not be necessary and carried out in any way. According to Carson Stroh, political philosophy professor at the New School of Public Engagement, illustrates, nonetheless, whether the confrontation with what is at issue, direct or indirect, certain general conditions always obtain, a law is intentionally broken. The intent of breaking the law must be call the public's attention to some law or policy which the civilly disobedient person considers immoral, which means the acts of civil disobedience are always public acts. This shows that any public act breaking the law is just immoral and should not be done, no matter the conditions. Laws are put into place to keep people in order, and when people can just break these, there brings up potential harm and risk that should not be happening or even thought of. However, there can be some exceptions for disobedience, and people don't always need to comply with what is put upon them, whether that be a rule or a standard from others. Bob McGannon, co-founder and director of Intelligent Disobedience Leadership in Australia, says, "Do I follow the corporate processes, even though, in this instance, I believe it may not be for the best? The essence of being extraordinary is this, having the strength and confidence to ask yourself, having the strength and confidence to ask such questions and not defaulting to yes. This is also the essence of intelligent disobedience. The most successful leaders test situations by asking themselves these questions in specific business and personal circumstances. A decision to act in this way involves some risk-taking, but will be managed and made effective within the framework of understanding the business environment and the nature of the specific situation. Because of the moral value, intelligence in the situation, and the potential positive outcomes, disobedience should be thought of as completely beneficial." And this is my work cited.
Terrific. Thanks, Declan. I got a couple of questions for you, and then we'll wrap this up. So for the first one, was there any evidence you gathered that you ended up not using? And if so, why didn't you include this evidence?
So some evidence that I gathered was specifically about civil disobedience, because it was so specific to just political and laws, and I was aiming for more just disobedience in general, between all types, intelligent and regular, not just in law and political parties.
Okay, perfect. And as a follow-up to that, what are your implications for your findings for your community? What should students take away from your presentation?
So students should take away from this that they can do what is the opposite of what they are told, as long as it's beneficial in the end. It's not completely interrupting everything that they're asked. They can as long as they're doing the right thing, what they believe, it's okay.
Okay. Terrific. Thanks.